So what I ask from you all is to get to the bottom of what happened. And that includes, like, I echo the sentiments of all of the other officers sitting here. I use an analogy to describe what I want as a hitman. If a hitman is hired and he kills somebody, the hitman goes to jail. But not only does the hitman go to jail, but the person who hired them does. There was an attack carried out on January 6th, and a hitman sent them. I want you to get to the bottom of that.
Hi again, everyone. It's 5 o'clock in the East. Those words from Capitol Police Officer Harry Dunn during the first hearing of the January 6th Select Committee should serve as a mission statement for anyone in Congress investigating what happened on January 6th and the months-long coup attempt that led to the deadly insurrection. Questions are growing by the day about who knew what and when, and what role GOP members of Congress played in the months-long campaign by the ex-president to overturn the election result. Just today, there is fresh evidence showing how Trump tried to get the DOJ involved in a conspiracy to toss out the 2020 election. It seemed to involve Republican members of Congress as well, at least in Trump's telling. The House Oversight Committee released notes from a former DOJ official that describe a December 27th phone call in which Trump urged DOJ to, quote, just say the election was corrupt and leave the rest to me and the Republican congressman. One of the congressmen later mentioned by Trump on that call as a, quote, fighter is Jim Jordan, who's already been named by Liz Cheney as a potential material witness for the January 6th Select Committee because of his ties to the disgraced ex-president. Now watch him stumble when he's asked if he talked to Trump on January 6th.
Did you speak with President Trump on January 6th?
Yeah, I mean, I spoke with the president last week. I speak with the president all the time. I spoke with him on January 6th.
On January 6th, did you speak with him before, during, or after the Capitol was attacked?
I'd have to go. I spoke with him that day after. I think after. I don't know if I spoke with him in the morning or not. I just don't know. I'd have to go back and. I mean, I don't know that when those conversations happened.
I don't know. I just don't know. An Alabama Republican, Mo Brooks, remember him? He's the guy who told the crowd at the rally before the attack on the Capitol to, quote, start taking down names and kicking ass. Well, he told a Slate reporter that he wore body armor to that rally because of a tip he received about potential violence. All this while the Republican disinformation machine kicked into high gear in an attempt to distract from the dose of reality provided by this week's hearing. Republicans tried to blame Nancy Pelosi for security failures, even though she's not responsible for securing the U.S. Capitol. A few even tried to pull a stunt in defense of the actual insurrectionists on Thursday, getting turned away from a prison that holds the January 6 suspects. The GOP's antics in the face of a serious and bipartisan investigation into the insurrection has Republican Peggy Noonan of the Wall Street Journal warning fellow Republicans that, quote, they have put their party on the wrong side of reality. When House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy called the two Republicans on the panel, Ms. Cheney and Representative Adam Kinzinger, Pelosi Republicans, he looked unserious and stupid. He breathed more oxygen into crazy town theories of a stolen election and again propped up Mr. Trump, whose support in the party is broad, true, but also shallow. Her advice, nail this story down. Nail everyone involved. Then and only then, move on. Republican complicity in Trump's attempts to overthrow our democracy is where we begin this hour. Joining us is Congressman Gerry Connolly of Virginia. He's a member of the House Oversight Committee. Also joining us, Neil Katyal, former acting U.S. Solicitor General, now a Georgetown University law professor, and lucky for us, an MSNBC legal contributor. Also joining us, former Republican Congressman David Jolly, now an MSNBC contributor and the national chairman of the Serve America movement. Congressman, I want to play something that I played this week because in light of these sort of the freeing up of some of these officials and the ex-president, it feels like the answer to this question you asked may become known. Let me play that again.
I can't imagine a more critical question. Did you have conversations prior to January 6th with the President of the United States urging you to question or overturn or challenge the election results of 2020? It's a simple question. And by the way, no executive privilege has been invoked prior to this hearing and your testimony, and you've known you were coming here for over a month.
Congressman, respectfully, I understand your interest in the issue, and I've tried to be as forthcoming as I can with regard to the facts at the Department of Justice. When you ask me about communications with the president, I, as a lawyer, don't get to make the decision on whether I can reveal private conversations, and that other people make that decision.
Congressman, Attorney General Merrick Garland has made that decision for Mr. Rosen. What do you think about what you've seen so far in the form of Mr. Donahue's notes?
Well, I think it confirms what we experienced with Mr. Rosen, which was that he weaved and, daubed to avoid a direct answer to a very simple and direct question. And remember, we're talking about a tragedy. We're talking about the worst assault on the U.S. Capitol since the British burned it in 1814. We're talking about 7 lives being lost, and he hides behind the confidentiality of a conversation. And we now know why he hid behind that confidentiality, because the notes of his deputy, Mr. Donahue, which were contemporaneous notes, clearly document the fact that that's precisely what President Trump was asking him to do. Overturn an election by calling it corrupt.
Congressman, I wonder, behind every Trump official who ducks and weaves under direct questions from folks like yourself is someone even worse. And what the notes reveal and what the reporting reveals is that there was an even worse scenario. There was an individual in DOJ that Trump was pushing to take over should Mr. Rosen, who replaced Mr. Barr, have not heeded his request to declare the result corrupt. And I wonder what the scope of your questions are department-wide for the department's role in that period between the election and the insurrection.
Yeah, Trump's modus operandi was to seed agencies like the Department of Justice with toadies and sycophants who would do his bidding. Mr. Rosen apparently was trying to resist that, but subsequently, of course, protected the president from the revelation that, in fact, that's what he was about. He was also clearly being threatened with the implied idea that he could be replaced at any time by somebody who would cooperate with Donald Trump's attempt to challenge the legality of a free and fair election.
Congressman, Mr. Donahue's notes name several members of Congress and one Republican senator, known allies of the ex-president. There's a narrow denial from at least one of those individuals. Mr. Jordan's office says that Mr. Jordan was never involved in a pressure campaign directly at DOJ, but no denial of the broader effort to overturn the election. And I wonder if you share Liz Cheney's assessment that he's a crucial witness in the Select Committee's investigation or other congressional probes into January 6th.
Yeah, Jim Jordan was one of a very elite group in the Congress who had virtually daily communication with Donald Trump when he was in the White House, and probably has it now. Jim Jordan has been one of the chief conspirator purveyors that the election was corrupt and not valid. It stretches credulity to believe he was not privy to Donald Trump's direct attempts to overturn the election and to use the Department of Justice to do so. So, yes, I believe he is a material witness. Whether he'll be a reliable witness, will he weave and duck, remains to be seen. But no question, his testimony should be demanded and compelled if necessary.